Okay, today we're going to look at multiples, factors, primes and squares. And we're just going to have some definitions and some examples of each one. Multiples, as you can probably tell, comes from the same word as to multiply. So if I want to find the multiples of 5, I basically multiply by 5. So it's all the numbers in the 5 times table. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And multiples are an infinitely long list. You can go on with multiples forever and ever. The multiples of 11 would be 11, 22, 33, 44, and so on. We tend to know the multiples up to 12 pretty well, our times tables, but other multiples have other numbers have multiples too. So I could say the multiple of 23 would be 23, 46, 69, 92, and so on. So that's multiples. Factors, people often get confused with multiples. Factors of a number are numbers that divide exactly into a number with no remainder. And these nearly always come in pairs. And thinking of them in pairs is a good way to think of them. So the factors of 32 will be 1 and 32. Notice I'm writing the smallest one at the start and the largest one at the end. That's quite a good way of doing it. So the next factor pair would be 2 and 16. 3 is not a factor of 32, but 4 is. So it would be 4 and 8. And you notice these pairs are getting closer to each other all the time. 5, 6 and 7 are not factors of 32, so we've now exhausted the list. Multiples are an infinite list, factors are a finite list. Factors of 40 in the same way, 1 and 40, 2 times 20, 4 times 10, and 5 and 8. Between 5 and 8 there's only 6 and 7. Neither of those are factors, so we've got an exhaustive list. 36, we'll start with 1 and 36. 2 and 18. 3 and 12. 4 and 9. And then we've got 6, which multiplies by itself to make 36. Which brings me nicely on to squares. A square number is a number that is created by multiplying a number by itself. So the first square would be 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. That's the second square, sometimes known as square numbers. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. These are the squares. It's really good to get to know those. The next few squares are 25, 6 6 are 36, 49, 64, 81, and 100. It's really good to learn the squares or the square numbers up to 100. When we looked at factors, you may have noticed I always started with 1 and the number itself. Every number has factors of 1 in itself. Primes or prime numbers only have factors of 1 of itself. So 17 would be a prime number because it only has factors of 1 and 17. There's no other that divides exactly into 17. The first few prime numbers are 2. That's the only even prime number. 3, 5, 7, 9 isn't prime because 3 is a factor of 9, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29. Those are the only prime numbers less than 30.